Chris Mannix first reported, I mean, let's be honest, like a lot of people have been reporting this, the whole Canelo Kovalev deal being close to being finalized, clearing certain hurdles. But it's all seems like it's set in stone and they're set to announce it. And on top of that, per Keith Idek, there is a 3-fight deal for Sergey Kovalev from DAZN. So, Rob, not only do we have Canelo Kovalev to talk about, because it seems like it is firmly official, we can talk about now in some aspect where it's reality. But on top of that, Kovalev has a 3-fight DAZN deal. Is that shocking in any way? And is one of those fights maybe just a rematch with Canelo potentially?
Was that Keith Idek?
Yes, it was Keith Idek. Yes, trust me.
When has he said that?
In his article.
Oh, okay.
The people on the screen saw it. Or people that are watching us, not people on the screen. We're on the screen. People that are watching us on the screen saw it.
Okay.
Yes.
How
yeah, I read the article earlier today, but I just kind of skimmed it and I didn't see it. So that's where Jay Calderon guy is getting it from. But digressing from that, Canelo Kovalev, it's pretty much all set in stone. And Kovalev has a 3-fight DAZN deal. Rob, your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm glad I think we're going to get an announcement this week still. I think it will come out. I think Canelo tweeted something. I did translate it, but it said like almost a year out, and then it was like back soon emoji type thing. Yeah, I'm glad it's done. I've put it out there. I'm asking if there's some kind of rehydration clause. I don't think there's a catch. It's not a catch weight. We know that much, but I don't know.
I would assume a rehydration clause, but I can probably safely assume Kovalev can just say fuck that and just
Daniel Jacobs style.
Yeah, and just still take that 8-figure check because he's getting an 8-figure check allegedly for this fight.
Which will be high 7 figures after. Who was it said that? Coppinger? Did Coppinger say that?
What?
That by the time he's paid Top Rank and main event, he'll be more like the higher 7 figures rather than 8-figure.
I don't know.
I did send that. I'm sure I did.
You probably did, but I don't remember reading that from Coppinger's tweets exactly. But I'll look it up.
Mike Coppinger, the financial package for Sergey Kovalev side is 8 figures per sources, with both main event and co-promoter Top Rank taking their cut. So Kovalev will likely clear in the high 7 figures.
Perfect.
But yeah, rehydration clause, whatever. Let me make it rain over here. I'll pay that off and let me try and bash you because I'm
makes me wonder, is this the last fight that Top Rank has rights to him? Because Top Rank's going to cut the check, obviously, right? And if he's now going to DAZN, is this now a main event Top Rank co-promoted fighter on DAZN? Or is it going to transition after this fight to a just pure main event Kovalev and DAZN fighter? You know what I mean? Because
I would think so. I think didn't they have an option on Kovalev? I don't know.
That's what I thought as well, but I don't remember off the top of my head, to be quite honest.
I don't think he's like officially like / Top Rank fighter as such. It's just been a few like an option. Or I think I'm not sure. I'm not entirely sure, but yeah, I think Dmitry Bivol is going to be thrown in the mix as far as Kovalev. That's part of the.
Though he's still he's main event guy. So yeah, I would assume that. Sorry, Kathy Duva added him to the deal to swing the pot.
Yeah, look, Bivol is a network free agent, so he's going to, I guess, come and go. So,
well, no. But my point is that he's a main events guy. He's a network free agent, but he's not a promoter free agent.
No.
So my point is that if main events is over here trying to get a Kovalev deal for Canelo, and on top of that, trying to get him a DAZN deal, I would then probably just guess here, again, it's guesswork here, that they try to attach some of their bigger main events names, and right now they really don't have any other than Bivol to a DAZN deal of some sort. So I wouldn't be surprised if almost simultaneously when we hear the announcement of a Canelo Kovalev fight, press, all that stuff is announced, right? You get the poster. We then hear relatively right after that Bivol signing with DAZN.
Yeah, but we had the welcome to the team Dmitry Bivol, and then
he left.
Went the other way.
But now we have Kovalev going back, so I don't know. I don't know what's happening here with the light heavyweight division.
Yeah.
Every month it changes from whether DAZN has like a pseudo monopsony on the division or if ESPN does. But right now it seems like if DAZN can get Kovalev and Bivol, it's a huge grab for them. Where it then divides the division up, and you have Better Beef and Vajic on one side who are fighting later on this year, and Kovalev and potentially, and I'm assuming, Bivol on one side over here. And God knows if Canelo comes in and beats both of them up. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, look, and obviously Matchroom and Top Rank have done some business recently, and maybe we can get a unification between the two again, just like Hooker Ramirez and things like that. So yeah.
Matthew D'Souza saying, Matt, what do you make of the fight clashing with the big UFC fight night? I already talked about that on another video. I clipped it out for you. So go to our main YouTube page. Just go to the boxing playlist. Should be right around there. But just scroll down. You should find it, and you can get my take. And also Anthony Walker from Sharedar.com, his take about it as well. But Rob, I don't think I got your take about that, actually.
Oh, well, we did talk about it because I said, is it going to clash as in time? Because one's on the East Coast, one's on the West Coast kind of thing.
Yeah, but I don't think you ever really give an opinion about what would be, win out.
I'm not going to watch the Nate Diaz fight.
No, I know you. But I'm talking about in the U.S., if you had to guess, which one's going to get the bigger pop, so to speak? Which one's going to get bigger traction online? What's going to get... Because it's kind of hard to compare pay-per-view buys on a streaming app compared to just straight views on a streaming app. It's really hard to do that. So I don't know, are we going to compare straight just DAZN views to pay-per-view buys? But what do you think sort of wins out? What do you think is the bigger event that night, so to speak, in the U.S.?
I would say Kovalev is a bigger name in America than Jacobs was. And we heard, no?
I don't know. I mean,
I think I do. I think Kovalev is a more known.
I think it's arguable. I'll put it this way.
Nah.
I think this. I'll put it this way. Kovalev in his prime on HBO obviously did better numbers than Daniel Jacobs, right? Can we agree on that?
Say again. Sorry, I was laughing at Gary.
I agree that Kovalev in his prime on HBO did great numbers. He did really good numbers on HBO back in the day, right? Compared to Jacobs when he had his HBO run, which was kind of lackluster, let's be honest, right? However, when we've seen them in pay-per-view, they've done kind of around the same numbers. Kovalev had 2 pay-per-view fights with Andre Ward. Both did around 165,000 buys. And similar, Triple G Jacobs did actually, I think, right around that same number, if not maybe a little bit higher. So I don't know, to be quite honest. And if they're the B side in a big fight, I think they don't produce that much, to be quite honest. You know what I'm saying?
What have been some of Kovalev's ESPN numbers? Has he been on regular ESPN?
Yeah, I think the first Elliot Alvarez fight was ESPN, but I don't think it did amazing numbers. I think he traditionally has done less numbers now post-Ward than he did pre-Ward. I think because of the public perception of him, honestly. And just the push of him. You got to admit on that point. HBO pushed Triple G and Kovalev like they were the 2 biggest stars for a few years. And then Kovalev lost 2 fights. He didn't get a push anymore.
I would say, personally, I feel Kovalev is a little bigger in sort of
than
name
Jacobs.
Than Jacobs.
Again, it's arguable. It is.
Yeah. So, and we know that done apparently 600,000 US
views. Yes.
Views. I mean, I'm not up to date. I don't know UFC pay-per-view numbers. I don't know quite.
Well,
I know Diaz is a draw for people to watch. So but Canelo's a draw for people to watch. It's just, I think DAZN is getting a little bit more traction now with Joshua Ruiz, what happened there. I believe as much as you might not want to like it, it may get a little push as well once this KSI Logan Paul press conference and things like that starts. People are more aware of that. I don't know whether that audience are going to be like, oh, so what's on this? Who's this Canelo fellow? I don't think that's going to maybe help. But I think DAZN is getting more. I I don't think. I mean, I think DAZN is getting a little bit more. People are becoming more aware of DAZN. Look, it's even got its own button on the new Amazon Fire Stick, right?
Woohoo!
No, that's something, right? That's as much as it's like whoop-de-doo or wow. It is a little, not a victory, but it's kind of like, look, we got a fucking button on Amazon Fire Stick. What was it? Netflix, something else. DAZN's got their own DAZN button, which is, I think that's pretty cool. I think that's I don't think, like I said, I'm not saying it's groundbreaking. And look, they must have 10 million subscribers now in America. You know, I'm not going down that road, but I think that's pretty neat and pretty cool. But I think, look, I just don't know enough about the UFC stuff to know which is going to do better. Or obviously, ESPN's a bigger network. I just don't know what pay-per-view numbers are. Quite what these guys draw. Who's he fighting? Masvidal. That's the one that done the big
flying knee knockout. Yeah, that went viral.
Yeah, so I don't know. I can't really answer your question because I don't know what sort of figures and numbers, and I keep seeing that Jedi Goodman guy saying what the prelims done and what they've done every month, and sometimes they're up, they're down. I really don't know what it.
Yeah, prelims is not a good translator because
post prelim.
No, they're just prelims. They're just prelims. There's no postlims. They're just prelims.
I thought Anthony Walker done. There was another. It was like the prelims or something.
Well, you have like traditionally speaking, you have like a UFC Fight Pass portion of the prelims, so that's like a 2 fights, and then you go to ESPN Plus prelims, but it's still prelims.
Can't it just be in one fucking place? It's so confusing.
Because UFC Fight Pass used to be like what the UFC wanted DAZN to be for combat sports. Like that was the intent at one point. God, 10 years ago now. But digressing, it's hard to tell about the pay-per-view model for the UFC because it changed, right? Like it used to be, you had cable providers be the distributors, right? You had DirecTV, Dish, you had your cable box. You go on your remote, open up your cable box, go to guide, and go to the pay-per-view channel and find that pay-per-view and buy it. You can't do that anymore. You now need an ESPN Plus subscription, and obviously you need some sort of smart device to stream it. And that has brought the pay-per-view numbers down drastically this year. But then again, the UFC gets a fucking giant 500,000, equivalent to a 500,000 pay-per-view buy rate event check from ESPN to do this. So they get lower numbers, but it doesn't matter because they're making so much more money on the back end than traditionally speaking.
But very quickly, Keith Idek pointed out the reason it's important for DAZN to make the Canelo Kovalev fight to take place on the 2nd of November is because it would occur within a separate 30-day billing cycle than the Joshua Ruiz rematch. The schedule affords DAZN 2 high-profile fights to try to draw new subscribers in consecutive months. So that's why they're trying to get this in before the 30 days before December 7th. You're such a fucking hater. Really
I love messing with you because you obviously have such a affinity to DAZN.
I want it to succeed. I want it to do well.
I don't care if it succeeds or fails. It has no bearing on the sport whatsoever.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, if it fails, another thing pops up. Like, think about it. Like, HBO failed. Did the sky fall? No. Showtime has been disappearing before our eyes. Is the sky falling? No.
It is for some.
It is for some. That is true.
Especially when you poke them.
But you know what I mean, though, Rob? Like, hey, like, if all of a sudden tomorrow, let's say, Sky wanted to get out boxing, something else is going to pop up, and, like, the sport's still going to survive. Like, you know what I mean?
I know what you mean. I'm just saying I want DAZN to succeed. I want... I just think
my thing about DAZN is that, and this is totally off tangent. We can get to this because like we only have a couple more topics to get to. Actually, we have a lot of topics to get to, but they're short topics. Doesn't matter. I think DAZN was great at opening the door to international boxing streaming to the U.S. and that becoming a norm, so to speak. Like DAZN, in terms of it changing how the market looks at that, is completely instrumental. And I'll give them praise for that. Because without DAZN, you don't get ESPN Plus investing the way it does into international boxing. You know what I mean? And
you're not looking for some scrappy stream of the UK cards and things like that.
Absolutely. And God, like we used to do the show, in a different channel back in the day when I had to do that. That was a norm not too long ago for us when we had to watch Usyk Gassiev on a cloud TV app pay-per-view thing that no one had heard of before, right? Like we went through the experimentation of streaming and we got to, I think, a better sort of environment for it thanks to DAZN. But I do think if DAZN fails, that standard is not going away. You get what I'm saying?
Oh, no.
That standard now of, hey, international boxing has to be shown. World Boxing Super Series, fights in the UK, fights everywhere have to be shown more now. That no longer is, I should say, that is not going to go away from the industry in terms of
someone else will start doing it.
Yeah. Like ESPN's going to be more invested in it. Hell, maybe Showtime takes up that because it would be cheap box. It would be cheap, relatively speaking, compared to U.S. events and to what they're competing with their own supplier. But I just think that, again,
foreign championship boxing.
I think DAZN was great in evolving the industry, but the industry evolved. Like, we can move past it now if we need to. And I'll be honest, I said this on Twitter earlier today. I don't know if you saw it, Rob, because I was talking with your mortal enemies, PBC Twitter, and I was giving some praise to both DAZN and PBC for some things. But I said DAZN's price, DAZN's pricing is just ridiculous. Like they have to figure a way around that, and they are bringing ads to DAZN sometime this year. Hopefully that brings the price point down because $20 a month, you can't do that. I'm about to get Disney Plus, ESPN Plus, and Hulu for $12.99 a month. Okay, like DAZN's, you can't compete with that if you're $20 a month.
No, I know what you're saying. But obviously the price point doesn't interest me in the slightest because we haven't got it.
No, of course not. But if it was over there and let's say it was £20 a month for DAZN, you'd be like, oh, that's a little steep.
For me personally, I want it to succeed because to me, they seem to have met a lot of resistance. And I don't see the point of that resistance. Like why they want it to fail. People are actively hoping it completely bombs and it's shit. And it's down to Eddie Hearn hate. I don't know. I just feel like it seems to be a bit cutting your nose off to spite your face.
Quickly, Jason, you don't have the year pass? No, of course I do. And first I was grandfathered in, obviously. But, I mean, for the casual fan that, let's say, is going to watch the Canelo fight, or the mom or dad that unfortunately is going to have to pay for DAZN for their little kid to watch KSI Logan Paul, that's $20 a month off the rip. They're not going to just buy a year because they don't know what it is yet. Like if you're buying a new new product, you usually don't buy the yearly service till you know what it is first. I would say that's me personally.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do like the year password, but that's beside the point. But to your point about like the hate for it, because I'm not really going to defend, let's say, the extreme side of it. Because I do think like that's just like sometimes it is just egregious, but there is legitimate points that DAZN has a lot of great fights that aren't really getting seen by the audience that should be seeing it. Also,
out of pure like ridiculous sort of, I don't know, unwillingness to like get it.
No, not that. They're not talking about, when people say that point, they're not talking about boxing fans. You understand that, right? They're talking about casual sporting fans that aren't going to stumble upon DAZN.
Yeah, more needs to be done.
Yeah, they're not going to stumble upon the Regis Prograis Josh Taylor fight, for example, right? But if that fight was on ESPN, if that fight was on Fox, CBS, NBC, ABC, the likelihood of people stumbling upon that fight, becoming a fan, is far higher, right?
Yeah, just numbers.
And yeah, it is. And the point of all these great fights going to this brand, while it is a clean brand, I think the model is fine. It's a low visibility brand at this point. So that means all these great fights are getting low visibility overall.
Yeah, and therefore, you get those kind of fights there so people know
No, I know, but let me finish the point. But then the question then becomes and revolves into, or I should say, evolves into, then does the sport actually grow if the audience is a shrinking size? You know what I mean? If we went from HBO Showtime, which was already a smaller audience than, the mainstream sporting world, and then we went to DAZN, and now really honestly ESPN Plus, largely speaking, are we now even shrinking the audience size down even drastically more so? And is that a big issue? I think that's a fair point. I don't think there's an answer for it right now because we're in that transition period in sports streaming that movies and TV streaming happened 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and music streaming happened 10, 15 years ago. But at this point in time, that is a valid question because we don't know how it's going to end up for boxing, so to speak.
I know what you mean. But for me, it just, I don't know, just seems to be a hell of a lot of, like, say, I don't know, the 1 point whatever million that watched Caleb Plant fight on
it's like 900,000. And it was FS1 too.
All right, well,
just want to get the facts right. That's all.
Yeah, all right.
It was a high number. People are really excited about it. I think it's a good number.
Yeah. There's a good percentage of those people that watch that are not interested in buying DAZN. They know it's there, and they're not.
Again, I'm not arguing for those people. I'm not arguing about those people. That's not my point.
No, I am. And that's part of my point is that there's a definite. I'm not buying that shit.
I get it, but look, those are 10 guys on Twitter. So I don't.
No.
It really is like 10, 15 guys on Twitter. So I really don't care about those 10, 15 guys on Twitter. You know what I mean? Like, let's be honest. Rob, like, come on, Twitter.
I think I think it's a reflection of a wider number, if you know what I mean.
No, okay, I get your point, but I would say that
number arguing about
that larger number still is still a small number in my opinion. That is that group of people that watch Caleb Plant, that will watch the Erickson Lubin card coming up on Showtime, that will watch whatever sort of bullshit cards that PBC and or any other promoter put out other than Eddie Hearn and DAZN. Those guys, that's a small group of people, Rob. Like, you must know that, right? Like, that is a section within a section within a section of hardcore fans. So, yeah, it's like 10, 15 guys on Twitter that are very loud and for some reason always end up on a timeline. But again, it's 10, 15 guys on Twitter that maybe speak for a few hundred people. Like, whoop-de-fucking-do. DAZN still, like you said, rising in terms of subscriber numbers. They're still gaining more content. So those 10, 15 guys aren't the issue. You get what I'm saying? Like, they aren't the problem at all with DAZN being successful or not. At all. People that hate Eddie Hearn, that don't want to see him, will never watch him, or at least will never support him in the way that you or DAZN wants. Okay? But the mom and pops that's watching the NFL every Sunday, that's watching MLB games Tuesday and Thursday nights or whatever it is, those are the people they need to go after. And those people don't even know about DAZN. Those people don't even know about Regis Prograis, Josh Taylor, Derek Chisora. They haven't seen the No Vaseline rants. Like, those are the people that DAZN needs to go after to be successful. And we've had that argument a lot. Like, we know that.
Yeah, no one knows Prograis Taylor. Derek told you.
No one gives a fuck. Largely factual.
Shut up or I'll squash you.